Welcome back, my friends, to an episode of TFT Hyper Roll from Mission for Tuition. It's called Mission for Tuition because we are trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school tuition. We're not doing it through donations or anything like that. It's all views. So if you could help feed the algorithm by liking, commenting, subscribing, watching the video, doing all of that good stuff, it really helps out. And with that said, let's get started. Now I want to jump right to this part because this video is about what happens when you don't have a clue. I had a Vi, I had a Kog'Maw, so I could go Sniper or Shrug It Off, but I just wasn't sure. I decided to go Shrug It Off because I wanted to see if I could do something with Brawlers, as I really have not had much luck with Snipers this season. So here we go into a Brawler adventure. Now normally I would go ahead and slam a Sunfire Cape onto someone. However, since I have Shrug It Off, I'm looking more to make a Warmogs, because that will increase the health and thus increase the amount of health that someone's gaining. But then the question becomes, who do you put it on? So let me take you through my thinking and why I'm waiting. The Mutant buff in this game is Bio-Leeching, which gives Omnivamp to everyone on the team. With Shrug It Off and that Mutant buff, I'm thinking maybe I can get to a Cho'Gath. And if I can find a Cho'Gath, then he will not only be getting regeneration from the Bruiser buff, but also regeneration from the Omnivamp. There's also kind of a weird thing happening in this game. Despite the fact that I haven't slammed any items on, and I have really lousy synergy, just 2 Bruisers at this point, a 1-star Kog'Maw hanging out in the back, for some reason, it doesn't want me to lose, and even though that Kog'Maw should beat me, I end up winning. The second augment comes along, and it's a fairly easy choice because I'm headed in a Bruiser direction. I have Shrug It Off, and so this will feed into that. So now I can ultimately go up to 3 Bruisers by getting rid of that Singed. Come on, Singed, get out of there. And then up to 4 if I turn one of my other champions into a Bruiser. And in this case, Kog'Maw will make the best choice, just because he's up at 2 stars and can do some damage. Since we're headed into mid-game, it's time to stop messing around and put some items on champions. So I go ahead and put the Warmogs onto Vi, along with a Bramble Vest, just to make her as tanky as possible, and then see how she does as either a potential carry, or at least an item holder, for if and when I ever see a Cho'Gath. And you can see pretty quickly, she's really strong, especially with that combination since she shreds armor. Now I did manage to find a single Cho in rolling, and I pick up a Nico's help because I think that's going to be the best way to get him up higher. And then it's time to take a chance. Cho's only going to get strong if he's in the game, because his feast stacks are going to allow him to build, but putting him in kind of puts you at a slight disadvantage since he's taking up 2 spots, so you're just hoping that your other champions can hold out. Luckily, Vi is a lot stronger in this than I thought she was, especially with Shrug It Off, and she's able to carry the team. We continue on our way picking up Bruisers because at this point my goal is to at least get to 6. And I keep finding Vi's and decide, you know what? Cho'Gath was a nice idea, but let's see if we can make Vi the ultimate carry. For the final augment, I was really tempted by the Mutant crest, so I could just quickly go up to 5, but decided instead to go with armor plating, because that will allow Cho 2 places that he will stop taking damage. And given the Omnivamp and the Shrug It Off, that will give him a chance to heal back up more. Of course, I'm really hoping that I'm going to find a 2-star Cho at some point, but for right now, you can see that Vi is able to take a ton of damage and also shred enough armor that Kog'Maw is able to finish people off pretty easily. And I'm speeding you through these fights because it's a little bit of rinse and repeat. You're seeing just how well the Omnivamp and Shrug It Off are working together. Now, I'm not saying you should ever try to force this because the odds of getting it together are small. You need the Mutant trait to be the Bio-Leeching, and then of course you need to get the Shrug It Off Augment. Those don't happen together very often. Now it's time for us to do something just a little crazy. Since Cho was not getting up to 2 stars, I just was not finding him, I decide to grab the Rapid Fire Cannon so I can stand him behind this really solid front line of Bruisers and enable him to grow more. Then finding a Tom Kent's just before combat, throw him in, feed him some Trundle, get the rest of our items onto Cho because I'm still hoping that he's gonna become a silver one day and become really strong as a result. But this is actually the first time I've tried Vi as anything other than sort of a support for Jinx, and she's doing really, really well. And essentially, with Vi carrying us all the way, we are now into the top 4. And I can't help but notice that I haven't lost a match yet. And it doesn't make any sense to me because I was so discombobulated early on. I didn't have items on champions. I didn't have a real solid plan until a little bit later in the match, but somehow Vi has managed to really carry this game. With a couple of Kaisas in the shop, I decide it's time to make a change because I think Kaisa is going to be a really strong potential carry for endgame when I finally get my 2-star Cho. But it's time to say goodbye to Kog'Maw. You've served us very well. Bring in Kaisa, give her the Rage Blade and the Bruiser buff along with the Rabadon's Death Cap, and hope that between the regeneration and the Omnivamp, she's going to be able to stay up and do a ton of damage. We go into this fight with everyone sort of facing off. It's a 3-way battle at this point. My Kaisa is doing exactly what I hoped. She is absolutely tearing the other team apart, and their Kaisa just cannot keep up thanks to the Rage Blade and the Rabadon's Death Cap. We beat them, our Ghost beats the other person, and just like that, with an absolutely perfect score and a gold Vi, we found our way to victory. Hope you enjoyed the video and have an absolutely, absolutely awesome day.